The NATO summit is going to do a couple things. First, it'll be a celebration of 60 years of the most successful multilateral alliance in history. But it's also going to have some serious business, talking about Afghanistan, talking about how NATO deals with Russia, laying a mandate for a new strategic concept, what will be the principles that guide the alliance over the next 10 years, and they'll also mark the full reintegration of France into the integrated military structure. So there's some serious business going on. Well, Afghanistan is going to be big. I mean, first there's going to be the international conference that will take place in The Hague on the 31st, talking about how you deal in a comprehensive way with about Afghanistan. And that then sets the stage for President Obama when he meets with his allied counterparts at the NATO summit to talk about what his strategy is for Afghanistan, to see if they can then come to agreement on an alliance strategy. And to the extent that we have buy-in from allied leaders, that hopefully will lead to contributions from the allies. Now, I think Washington is pretty realistic about, or modest in its expectations in terms of getting additional troop commitments from our European allies. But what we do hope that the Europeans will be doing is will be contributing things such as police training, civilian reconstruction, because there's now a recognition that an important key to success in Afghanistan is not just calming the security situation, but helping Afghanistan develop the political and economic institutions that allow it to become a successful country, and that's the way that NATO can get out. Well, certainly this is going to be the first engagement that President Obama will have with a number of his allied counterparts. I mean, my sense is that it's likely to go fairly well. First of all, I think the president, as he is domestically, is enjoying something of a honeymoon overseas. And that's in part because some early policy decisions that were taken by the administration. Decisions, for example, to take a new, more serious approach to climate change, the decision to close down Guantanamo, reaffirmation of the American policy will abide by international standards of torture. Those were all positive signs. And I think a second part is that what President Obama and his administration have said is that he's looking at multilateral solutions to big problems. And he understands that to do that, he can't just go and talk, he has to listen. And that kind of consultation increases the possibilities that we'll get allied approaches to some of these problems, and that with that sort of agreement from allies that we can then have their support and their commitment of resources then to tackling those problems. An issue that will be touched on probably in the context of the discussion about Russia will be the issue of NATO's relations with Ukraine and Georgia. And this is going to be one of those points where there has to be a bit of a balancing act, because on the one hand, as President Obama has said, he would like to see U.S. relations with Russia reset. NATO would also like to reset its relationship with Russia. But at the same time, NATO has developed strong relationships with both Ukraine and Georgia, both of whom have said at some point they might like to enter the alliance. And so the question is, you've got to balance, on the one hand, a stronger relationship with Russia, but also with the alliance, continue to develop those relationships with Ukraine and Georgia. That balance can probably be found, but it's one that can generate a little bit of friction, because the Russians are fairly clear that they have major reservations about Ukraine and Georgia getting too close to NATO. Again, it's probably a balance that they can strike, but it'll take some work.